So as usual, for my swatches, I will be applying them over a very light layer of eyeshadow primer, and I'm using my Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion. This is just the original version, and I'll be using my Kat Von D Shade and Light eyeshadow brush for this. I will be using the stiffer side of the brush. And to clean my brush after each swatch, I simply swipe it against a dry, clean hand towel. So unfortunately, there aren't any color descriptions for the shades included in this palette, so we're gonna rely on my sharp, artistic eye. No, not really. Hopefully the HD camera will pick up the shades so you can see them for yourselves, but I will do my best to describe them. Starting out in the top row, the first shade up is Hollywood. Hollywood is mostly a yellow toned beige shade, like a peachy yellow toned beige with a satin finish. Has a little bit more of a sheer color payoff though, not too intense or metallic. Then next to that we have the shade NYC. NYC is what I would consider a rosette bronze shade. Yeah, I'm getting fancy. It's more of a deep brown bronze shade with a little bit of golden sheen to it. Nice color payoff, and it's really smooth. Then we have the shade Kim. Kim is a medium toned orangey brown shade with a little bit of yellow gold shimmer to it. Another nice smooth shade. It's not really metallic, it's more of a satin shade. Next we have the shade Muse. Muse is more of a coppery bronze shade. This one has a little bit more of an orangey undertone to it, but it's a medium tone shimmery orangey brown. Again, this one has subtle sheen, subtle shimmer. It's not really a metallic shade. Then we have the shade Marina. Marina is a peachy champagne shade, has nice sheen to it. Again, a soft, subtle sheen, not a overly metallic shine, but that one is definitely going to give impact on darker skin because it has that sheeny finish to it. Really great pigmentation, applies beautifully. And then last up in the top row, we have the shade Claudia. This one is a muted charcoal gray shade with a little bit of sheen and shimmer to it. The shimmer is microfine, you can barely see it, but up close you can see it has very, very microscopic silver specks to it. Again, another beautiful shade. That one would make a great olive smoky eye. It has a little bit of a blue undertone to it too, which makes it a little bit more of a cool tone shade. Moving on to the second row, we have three mattes. The first one is Lula. Lula is a gray toned medium brown shade. This would actually make a great crease color for my complexion, so win. It's a cooler tone neutral shade for sure. Then we have the shade Isabel. This one is a warmer tone brown. It comes off as almost like a brick orange shade. Again, nice and smooth and pigmented. And then the final matte is Violetta, which is a beautiful warm tone chocolate brown shade, again with great pigmentation. Next to that we have the shade Fifth Avenue. Fifth Avenue is more of a yellow gold shade, a very pale yellow gold with great color payoff. It has some sheen to it as well, but it's not highly metallic or too frosty. Then we have the shade Bronx. Bronx is a dirty olive green shade with a little bit of gray undertone as well. That one would make a great all over simple eye. I think that's a really good color. And then last up we have the shade Paris. Paris is more of a muted golden brown shade. A very, very neutral shade indeed. So again, here are all 12 of the shades swatched, and initially when I saw this palette I was like, oh, all of these shades are just gonna look very similar on my skin tone. They look like the same shade being repeated with a slight shift in depth or a little bit of undertone difference. No, if you can see on my skin tone specifically, these shades look very different from each other. They each have their own special color to them. And there are even a couple of pops of color on my skin tone. Like the green really shows up as an olive green. This Claudia shade looks like a blue slate gray. It's such a beautiful shade. And then you have the deep brown bronze, more of a coppery red tone bronze. You have different champagne shades. You have this yellow champagne, this pinky champagne. I am just very surprised at all of these shades and how they're picking up on my skin tone. They don't read as boring as I initially thought. The only shade that I have trouble with is the first shade, which is very light in color payoff, but that would actually work well for underneath the brows for a very subtle highlight, and I like having that option in the palette. But apart from that, the rest of the shades are smooth, they're pigmented, they have great color payoff, they're not choppy, they're not chalky, they're a little looser, which I don't mind. They're eyeshadows, they're powders, of course they're gonna pick up some product, so you just have to be careful to tap off your brush or press your brush into the product to really pick up the color and help it stay on your skin. But they stick to the skin very nicely over moisture, over a primer. They stick very nicely without dusting away or fading away. I really like the formula of these shades.